by, alone inside. He's got the breakaway with the touch to the right. Goal! Everything you wanted from this debut. It's Brandon by. Taking a shot with the left. Goal! Isaac Friend from 25 yards out. The equalizer. Will Kidd with the touch of the goal. It's a go-ahead goal. Minneapolis City.
This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by Summit Brewing Company.
Ladies and gents, do not adjust your dial. This is the beginning of year 5 of the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. I am John, and joining me today is my trusty sidekick, Nate Morales. Nate, is it as hard to believe for you that it is for me that we are on year 5 of this ride? It seems like we started just yesterday, like legitimately.
How do we only have 135 episodes? That math doesn't add up. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I don't think we take breaks that long, but maybe we do. It is, it's really hard to wrap my head around 5 years.
It is, right?
We were so young. We were so full of potential. Just dreamers, John. And look at us now. 2 MLS draft picks and 3 babies later. We are still the number 1 podcast about Minneapolis City SC.
I mean, we are.
No one can topple us.
We are just blasting the competition behind us.
Watch the throne.
I would encourage a competitive podcast about Minneapolis City. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, fight me.
Right? Yeah. 135 episodes later. What, bitch?
Some really cool topics to cover this week. We once again are close to fame as another one of our very own was drafted in the MLS draft this week. We're going to dive into what that means to both club and player. 5 years is enough to have developed legends. So the club announced this week the creation of the Legends Club. It's not what you think. It's not a golf club. It's not a skybox where you get free drinks. It's just some dudes. We'll tell you all about it.
Definitely not a strip club.
And finally, we enter this week with one more session of our Invite Combine, and we're on the heels of our final open trial before rosters hit. So we're going to provide an update about kind of team building with probably 0 actual news, but don't take my word for it. We'll find out.
It's funny because to go back to the Legends Club thing, we were trying to figure out, like, what do we call it? And someone was like, oh, it's, maybe we call it the Players Club. And I was like, nope. No, we're not in Atlanta. We're not a strip club in Atlanta, so we're gonna call it the Legends Club.
Hey Google, play Players Club.
Right, exactly.
Ah, man. All right, so let's get started here. News came through on the Twitter machine on Monday that another Crow has been drafted into Major League Soccer, the MLS. Luke Hawkinson, chosen in the 4th round by the expansion team Nashville SC. They have spent the early going just loading their roster with young talent. They had something like 6 or 7 draft picks in the Superdraft.
They were smart about their draft picks this year.
And more than, they've got more guys on their roster than established playoff team Minnesota United. So perhaps panic mode is in order, but Nashville has taken Luke Hawkinson with the 80th pick, I believe. We have raved about his potential in the past. We were super excited when he returned to City this last summer. And now, while it wasn't in the same spectacular first-round fashion, we have another Crow going to the MLS.
Yeah, Luke started out with us after seeing him in 2016 in our first year when we actually played his Shattuck St. Mary's team in a preseason match. And he immediately sparked our attention because he was arguably the best player on the field that day as a 17-year-old. Not even to mention that he was built like a 25-year-old at 17. But due to the DA playoffs, he was unable to join us until after that whole thing ended, which was late in our season.
Yeah.
But he was a great addition to have in our squad, getting time, fighting his way, as we'll learn about in a little bit here, going through his soccer journey, fighting his way into the squad in a very crowded midfield that already had 2 established players in at his position in Ben Wexler and Samuel Ruiz Plaza until he went off to his first year at Creighton. So in his first year at Creighton, he played in all 21 games for the Blue Jays, starting 11 and notching 5 points on a goal and an assist, which is not too shabby, Nate, in your first year in college at arguably one of the country's most storied programs of late. So following that first year in school, Luke left us to join up with the Des Moines Menace in the then PDL, now USL2, excuse me, where he saw kind of spot time. That roster was loaded with, I believe, I went back and looked at it today. There's probably 8 or 9 guys that play in Major League Soccer and another 6 that play in the USL's top division.
Oh, wow.
That were on that Menace team. So him seeing 10 games, including one versus the Crows when we went to Des Moines for exhibition match that year, lodging 0 points. That's still really respectable considering at that point he was an 18 going on 19-year-old. So
that's something we don't really talk about, by the way, John, is like the points that players rack up. Like usually we say, oh, they scored 3 goals, they had 3 assists, and they played so many minutes. Like what when we're saying 0 points, we're saying 9 points. What does that mean?
So you get points for certain amount of points for goals, certain amount of points for assists. So it's very much so like around these parts, how hockey players are.
Oh yeah,
how hockey players accrue points in a season. Same thing for soccer. So it just meant that he got playing time, but from a productivity standpoint on paper, looks less productive, even though he may have been a contributor in those 10 games that he featured in.
It's just math. Okay, cool.
Yep, just math. So after kind of moving on from us as his introductory point into amateur soccer and then going off to Creighton and playing with the Menace, in his second year at Creighton, he played at 18 games for the Blue Jays, starting 14. Here's the points come in. He notched 9 points on 3 goals and 3 assists, bowing out in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament. Following that second year in school, Luke left us to join up with once again, it was a model of consistency as he played 18. I'm all over the place here. After brief consideration of coming back to the Crows, Luke decided to latch on with the eventual USL League 2, which was the former PDL, national champions, FC United in Chicago, which is the Chicago Fire in the Major League Soccer affiliate, where he featured in 12 games, scoring, again, 3 goals and 3 assists, like he did in college.
That's a funny name, FC United, because it's just like 2 soccer cliches as your name.
Well, have you seen their logo? Have you seen their parent club's logo?
Oh, it's awful. But it's just funny that Chicago was like, oh, you know what our other club's going to be called? I don't know, FC United. Sure, fuck it.
Well, it was interesting, too, because he and I spoke briefly. It was like, hey, do you want to come back? Can I help you find a team? How are things going? Then he's like, well, yeah, I had a really good conversation with the coach at FC United. And I was like, oh, what's his name? And he told me. I was like, oh, I played Bavarians with that guy. I was like, I'll give him a call. And he's like, oh, that'd be great. And then I call him and he's like, yeah, we already have him penciled in to be on our team.
Oh, okay.
you didn't need to call me. I was like, all right, well, cool.
Good. Well, great talking to you. We'll catch up
all
later.
right. Awesome. Good luck. And then they won the national championship. And then the coach actually moved to Loyola as an assistant coach after that. So anyways, brief deviation there after I totally murdered that. So Luke did eventually make his return to the Crow's Nest leading up to his final year in school, which, Nate, we've actually seen many Crows do that. Go come in with us as boys, leave as men, and come back as more of a finished product. We saw it with Stigwart. We saw it with Ruiz Plaza. I'm sure there's quite a few others that we saw as well that have decided to leave and come back. But we were absolutely happy to have him back because he helped us shore up a midfield that was riddled with injury. And Luke was the perfect fit to keep the Crows on their winning ways, seeing that we were coming off of a great run of form in 2018 and then a great run of form to start the 2019 season. He spent most of the year actually training with us during the week and then going on MLS pre-draft workouts towards the end of the week. But he did get a chance to feature with us for 3 crucial matches that led, I believe, to the club's second consecutive conference title, where he featured in a full 90 in all 3 of those games. Again, really not notching any points, but you saw him with your own eyes at that point. He was really the heartbeat of the team on both ends of the ball from the attacking third perspective, where you can look at it and on paper and say, well, he didn't score any goals. He's an attacker from a midfield perspective. And you're like, yeah, but like everything we had going forward went through him, and it wasn't forced either. It was organic because he's that good of a soccer player.
Yeah, that was one thing. I wish I went back and looked at my notes for the games that he played in before talking about him, but I feel like he did score a goal. But I remember there was a game where it might have been the one against Aris or something.
No, he scored against the Des Moines Wanderers in the preseason. I didn't count that into his official stats, but that was the last game that he did play with us.
Okay. Yeah, so I remember that he hadn't scored in his NPSL games, and he still went into that Wanderers friendly like 125%. Like he wanted to, and then he did score, and you could tell like this is exactly what I'm needing to do.
Well, he hit the crossbar, and I remember because I actually coached that game, and because our coaches were all doing other obligations. He hit both posts and the crossbar that game before he scored his goal.
Yeah, I mean,
so he was just pressing for it.
Even against even in those kind of games, he was always hungry. It was great to have him on the squad, and like you said, always gave it his all, and really was the heartbeat of the team. Everything moved through him. You could tell that he was the guy that kind of the team counted on to make things happen, even if it wasn't scoring. But that's
right, exactly.
In the end, pretty cool for the program. That he gets for Minneapolis City, that we get another draft pick coming out of our little NPSL squad. But this is a lot of work for Luke. Like you said, he was leaving on the weekends, going to trainings, going to trials. What kind of what was that process like? I'm sure you've talked to him and talked to some of his coaches and some of the other people that were involved in that. Like what was that process like for Luke?
Yes, before that, I do want to get into like a brief Luke story, because we're all about stories with our players, right? Yeah. So, going into that Des Moines game, being that fact that I had to coach the team, it was kind of a mixed match between both of our U23 team and then our NPSL team. We were really short on defenders, so I had to deploy a 3-5-2. And essentially what I did was, instead of it being a traditional 3-5-2, it was kind of like a 3-5-1-1. And I put Luke kind of in the withdrawn striker role, and I'm kind of explaining to the players how I want them to play. They're all going out for warm-ups and we're out of the locker room, and I stop him and I said, hey, just so you know, I basically built this formation around the fact that I want you to get as much of the ball as possible and play as little defense as you have to. And he looks up he looks up at me and goes, I'm cool with it, boss. And then he went out, and then he just remember he was just all over the place because he had so much coverage everywhere else. Yeah. It was like
he did, less responsibility on one end of the ball meant that he could just maraud.
He terrorized those defenders, and then at halftime, things weren't really clicking for him, like from a finishing perspective. And I said, is this working for you? Because I'm thinking about making a change. And he's like, don't change a thing. I got you in the second half. So, but anyway, so go back to your point as far as like what this whole process was like for him. I didn't have a huge conversation with him. He was at he came to our winter combine, which we'll talk a little bit about later, last week. So I was able to kind of talk to him about like, hey, you didn't go. It was actually the day of the first and second round. So it was very topical. Like, are you going to go on Monday or, so essentially he really didn't know where he would end up after a summer of really jet setting across the country for workouts. He did have an idea that MLS could be an option for him, but the future was kind of a mystery from that point. He had conversations with, and trials with, I think it was 6 or 7 different teams within the MLS last summer.
Damn.
And fans of City were really hoping, with fingers crossed, that Minnesota United would take him as more of the homegrown route.
Right. They don't do that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
We prefer to pick players that are going to burn out.
Just go back in the file folder of Jackson Ewell.
I was just gonna say that. Why would you pick Jackson Ewell, a future U.S. men's national team player, when you can get Abu Dunladi, where every one of his touches will be a disaster.
Who's now playing with Luke. Anyways, so the cards just were not set to be played out that way. I think it was because Minnesota United had 2 4th-round picks and not a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
So there was a potential that if they did have a 3rd-round pick, they could have maybe moved up to take one of the guys who took in the 4th round, or maybe taken Luke. But anyways, didn't work out. He was selected, as you mentioned, 80th overall in the 4th round, going to the expansion side at Nashville. Not a bad city, Nate, to be living in for your first year out of school, for your first day job.
Nah, man.
Yeah.
Nash Vegas, they call it. Bachelorette party capital of the USA.
I mean, quality music, a technology footprint in the United States.
Oh, you're going with that stuff, huh?
Now a new soccer team, bachelorette parties. I feel as that Luke's going to have a great time in Nashville.
Yeah.
But the important thing that I think most are not really thinking about is that Nashville doesn't have a USL affiliate. And being that they're an expansion side, we've seen this close to home with Minnesota United, they really need every player they take in their first year draft, whether it's the expansion draft or it's the super draft. So there is a really high chance that Luke makes this team because they need him to fill out a squad, and is not loaned out because they don't have a partner club that they can actually send him to. So I would actually expect that in his first year, much like his first year in college, and as he kind of grew his career into post-college and going back, that he plays his way into an early spot.
Yeah.
Before hitting his stride and maybe making a few starts in his first year. That's kind of my putting on my genie hat and making some predictions here. But he's just that type of player, I think, that a young club needs. He's hardworking, extremely coachable, possesses a calmness on the ball that I think translates really well at the highest level. And he can score goals, but I see him maybe moving a little bit back from his number 10 role into maybe more of an 8, a box-to-box type center midfielder.
Sure.
As a link between the defense and the 6 and the 10 and the offense, and kind of being a little bit more of the heartbeat, because he has a plus level vision and passing skill, and he has a fearlessness to play defense. Like, the guy tackles really fucking hard. So I think that's something that as he moved up into this top level, you see a guy like Brandon Bye, a striker in college. Now he's a right back and he's doing well, but it was a necessity in order to see the field for him to move back into the defense. I think that Luke doesn't move that far back, but I would see him maybe moving a little bit further back. And I can tell you,
Nashville did draft like 2 young defenders too. Like their second pick was a defender. I think they had a defender in the 2nd round as well. So if they wanted to develop him into a true defender, they would have gone that route and maybe passed on those other guys or passed on Luke. But it sounds like they're looking for midfielders. So
right, and I mean you're going to be going over kind of a few hot names that they have on their roster in a little bit here, but I'll just throw one out there. Dax McCarty, he's going to be your starting 6. Yeah. Like, he's going to be the guy who is shading your back line. And from the other guys I saw that they brought in, or that they drafted, or they put on their preseason roster, there's not a ton of guys that are the link-up guy between the 6 and the 10. So if I were Luke, that is where I would insert myself to try to fight for playing time right away. But I can tell you this, Nate, with Brandon going to New England 2 years ago, I paid way more attention to the MLS game, on top of the fact that we have a team here in our market. Despite anything I say, I watch all their games. I don't go to a lot because the timing doesn't work with young kids for me.
Yeah.
But I watch all of them on TV. I hope that they do well. But I was following every day New England Revolution news. This transaction and the possibility that Luke makes the team in year 1 and actually plays is one that I will be for sure turning into Nashville games and following that news, because I can say this selection hits a lot closer to home for me, Nate, seeing that I've known him as a kid, like a literal kid, since he was in like prep high school. So I feel like I have a little more vested interest in following Luke because of that, and super proud for him. And I'm just happy to see that he was able to be recognized for the player he is, because in America, unless you're lighting up a score sheet or you're like a A+ defender, anyone who fills out in the center of the field there goes overlooked. So I'm hopeful that this is a really good stepping stone for him. And I think an expansion side, ideally Minnesota United would have been awesome, but I think an expansion team, not Miami, is a really good spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, even if Minnesota United picked him, like,
he'd be playing in Madison. He'd be playing in Madison.
Absolutely, because he'd be 5th or 6th on the depth chart. When you think that they're going to move Hassani Dotson to midfield, you got Ozzy Alonso, you got Jan, and then they've got their pick of guys that they're trying to play at the wing that really should be number 10. So who knows? It's good that they passed on him. Would have been cool to have him. I will say, circle June 13th on your calendar, because that is when Nashville SC visits Allianz Field. John, you want to go? Let's go. You want to be my guy?
I'll be your guy for sure.
Right, yeah, I got a ticket.
Wait, what day is it again?
June 13th.
May have a child's birthday, but I'll figure it out.
You may have a
not that day, but that weekend. Yeah, no, 100%. And Luke, if you're tuning into this, you better give me your jersey.
Yeah, we'll be pushing the little kids out of the way.
Get the fuck out of here, kid.
Hey,
I know him.
Kids are like, sign my water bottle. I'm like, give me your shirt.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But John, to your point, like, as if crow watching isn't enough for people to tune into the MLS when it's someone like Brandon Bye or someone like Luke Hawkinson, I think there's a number of reasons to keep an eye on Nashville. When you think about it, there are Minnesota connections galore down there. I'm sure most people haven't been following what's going on with the Nashville expansion, but Luke will join another Minnesota native and a former Loon, Eric Miller of Woodbury, along with, like you mentioned, another former Loon, Abu Dunladi. So that'll be great to watch him sky shots over the crossbar. And other notable names.
I was going to say, pull his hamstring in preseason.
Yeah, get a beautifully played through ball right to him and just dribble it right out of bounds. But anyway, other notable names in Nashville are Jimmy Bedranda, one of my favorite players of all time for some reason. He's a former Sporting KC speedster.
You just like to say his name.
I do, Yimmy. David Acom, who I think used to be at Columbus, one of their forwards.
Yep.
And for fans of mediocre U.S. men's national team players, you've got Dax McCarty, who you already mentioned, and John Lovitz. I mean, no, Daniel Lovitz. John Lovitz is the guy from Saturday Night
Live. Mediocre U.S. national team players. Dude, Dax McCarty is a good soccer player.
But you know what? Yeah, that's true.
So before I dive in here.
They were starters, John. What are we doing starting Daniel Lovitz?
I have no idea. I would rather start John Lovitz, to be honest. But a quick Dax McCarty note: if you listen to the Benny Failhaber and Sal Zizzo podcast, I don't know if you ever listened to it.
No.
You should start listening to it, because Eichel Para is also like a regular guest host on it.
Oh, cool.
So it's a really good podcast because they dive in. We're totally deviating here. Sorry. They dive into like the players side of soccer in America, and there's a lot of like U.S. national team camp jokes and a lot of like just MLS type jokes about like things you don't know how it actually works. And they have a guest on every week, and it's usually like one of their friends or one of like a guy they played with on the national team. But the Dax McCarty episode is one of the best because he talks the whole time about how he couldn't hold off from fighting against an internet troll on Twitter because the guy went like way too over the top, and he just like went 2 feet into a Twitter troll argument and found out it was like a 16-year-old kid. And like the things he said to him were wildly inappropriate for the fact that he's a 16-year-old kid.
Well, what do you expect? You gotta, of course, It's some little kid, but still.
I would implore all of you listening and yourself, Nate, to tomorrow at work or whatever you're doing to go on and find that podcast and listen to the Dax McCarty episode because it's really, really good.
What's it called?
And, it is called BSI. I'm pulling it up right now. I'll come back to it.
Okay.
So to answer your question real quickly and to talk about kind of the names you mentioned, I think the names on that list alone are far better than what Minnesota United rolled out in their first year.
Isn't that crazy?
So, right. It's super crazy. And it just further solidifies why I think this is a really good spot for Luke. Because I think this team is going to be fun to watch, but also able to compete at a higher rate than most expansion teams not named Atlanta in the recent past.
Yeah, they look not bad. Way better than Cincinnati last year or 2 years ago or whenever they started. Better than us, I would say. Mm-hmm. Just like you said, like, how about you pick established names that can play in the MLS and that people know and have heard of before instead of whoever the fuck we picked in our expansion draft.
Also, they built the team from the back forward. That's
your favorite. They got the spine.
Yeah, they got the spine. So, and the podcast is the BSI podcast with Benny, Sal, and Ike.
Okay.
The best part is that Ike is only on when they have a segment called Ike's Interrogation, and he asks 5 questions. And if you plead the 5th, then you don't want to plead the 5th. Because then you have to answer the rest of them, and you don't know what the questions are.
Oh, so you don't want to do it early. So he starts kind of turning the screws on you early.
Yes, and I'm gonna open it up here, and I will find the Dax. I will tell you what episode number it is. The Landon Donovan episode is pretty good too. The Dax McCarty episode is episode 5, and it's titled "Dax Joins the Gang." Discusses his Twitter troll and how the end of his Red Bull days really went down, and 2 interesting stories from U.S. national team camp that he shared with Benny. Right. One of them being, spoiler alert, how Benny Feilhaber got cut with Dax McCarty and then went into Klinsmann's office and talked him into keeping him. Yeah, the podcast itself is great. There's only 20 episodes. It's only 1 season so far, but it's really good. Cool. Anyways, enough about other people. We totally deviated there. About us. So from 1 future club legend in Luke to 4 current ones, it was announced 2 weeks ago that the club in its 5th anniversary season would be adding a new element, and that is the recognition of players from the past to etch their names into club history books. This is a very important time, I think, Nate, for the club, because the names on this list are names that got us to the point where we can have stability and longevity and move out of the danger zone in the MPSL, which is we had a player meeting a few weeks ago. We had a player meeting with the returners that we're going to be announcing soon to kind of set the tone for the season. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'm going to get the exact numbers correctly, but 30 to 35% of teams that start in the MPSL do not last past the second season, and only 18%, give or take, last beyond their 3rd season. So we have, which it's staggering numbers, right? So to say what I just said, and I'll reiterate it, we're in a very important time with our club because these guys helped get us to the point where we actually have stability and longevity as a club is huge. These guys had to deal with massive growing pains, whether it be, training spaces or shitty travel experiences because we hadn't figured everything out. They stuck with it, but they were also part of some very big successes along the way as we grew as a club. And there were guys that we leaned on to tell us what we needed to do better. But like any club, there's a separation point with players that can be really hard on both parties and really hard to handle publicly. But I feel this is really the perfect way to keep these guys in the club far beyond their playing days. And I'm really happy for them to be voted in the first class, the class of 2020, as I'm calling it, by the fans and not nominated by myself or Dan or the coaching staff.
Yeah, well, I think it is really cool for them. I think that, we'll get into kind of how that club separation works or whatever. But I think what I do want to bring, first of all, I can't believe that only like 18% of clubs.
I don't. I did some shady napkin math on that one.
So if you've been involved in like one of the things that obviously Minneapolis City is super good at is Twitter. And so, jumping on and trying to get a hold of like, what is this NPSL all about as we start to enter this like bigger stage of the NPSL? You get into the Tulsa Twitter, you get into the Chatham Hooligans and stuff. But the Detroit City Twitter too always kind of intrigued me because this was a fan base that was so all about every one of their players ever. And so, every once in a while you'd get these tweets that are like, these guys are great. Or they'd be like, all-time Detroit City players. And I was like, how do you even fucking know these dudes? And
right.
Now Now I get it, right? 5 years in, it's like, oh, these guys, of course you got to have them on your list, potentially as all-time Minneapolis City players. So let's get into talking about who they are and some discussions individually on those. But the first guy we've talked about before. He is currently a coach working on the staff for Minneapolis City, which is great. Isaac Goose Frent, born and raised Andover, Minnesota. He was a winger for us, played in 24 games, scored 7 goals, 3 assists. How many fouls do you think he absorbed in the box?
Like, you're going to get to his minutes in a second here. I think maybe he cut his minutes by a third, and that's probably how many times he was fouled.
Yeah, 1,915 minutes for the club. He blew up on the scene as a teenager in our inaugural season. We were super excited to watch him. He continued his fine run of form into the 2017 season, where he was our top goal scorer, despite not really playing as an out-and-out striker. He was a winger, scoring goals from that right side. At the Nelly, he scored a memorable goal against Sioux Falls Thunder that really he turned into. He made it iconic with his celebration when he ran over to the citizens, did that fist bump jump, and now
it's part of our intro.
It's one of the, not only that, but like that shot, that picture from Dan Mick is one of the iconic pictures of Minneapolis City and what the club atmosphere is all about when you're sitting down there with the citizens. So he's already been a fan favorite at this point. The celebration just showed that joint admiration between the player and the supporters. In 2018, he was injured early in the second half of that home opener against Med City.
Unfortunate.
He didn't really. I think did he break his leg or something? He didn't even feature the rest of the season.
No, he hurt his knee, not the knee that he actually hurt in college, but it was to the point where he was like, I need to be safe. So he stepped away to rehabilitate and train and not get into a situation where he could get hurt again going into his first year at DePaul. Yeah.
And then sadly, like this year, 2019, last year, I guess he suffered these catastrophic complications from another injury from surgery after he got injured again, playing at DePaul University. So that ended his playing career, but he would not be kept down. He has joined the coaching staff for Minneapolis City while recovering, and it's going to be a long recovery. So it's really nice to have him around, and nice for both parties, I'm sure. Minneapolis City gets his attitude, gets his eye, gets his perspective on what makes a great player. Goose gets the ability to kind of stick around soccer, to contribute and to help build this team to continue to build this team, I should say, that he helped build up to now.
Much like Luke, who we talked about earlier in the show, Goose was spotted during our inaugural season in a preseason match versus his youth club, Minneapolis United. And again, as a 17-year-old, he was arguably the best player on the field for large portions of that game. So seeing that we really didn't know what to expect in year one, we took a flyer on him as a teenager. And the Birdman was selected, and it really paid off. Not only was he one of the most dynamic players, I think, on the ball that we've ever had, but I mean, just in general in his days with the club, he's a fantastic person. He's had a less than desirable soccer journey, but along that way, he accepted each fate that he got along that journey and just put the work in day out to just overcome it. spending a lot of time in the training room sucks. But because of his playing style, which talked about how many fouls did he draw, he invites a ton of contact.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and he's not built like a China doll or anything. He's a solid kid. He was very muscular as a teenager, and he only got stronger, low sense of gravity as he was going through soccer season. But he never really let an injury keep him down. And as we noted a few shows back, and you mentioned earlier today, career cut short. We don't need to go into that. Definitely far too short with an injury. But I think it's an injury that would keep a lot of people out of the game altogether. I think it would kind of throw you down a dark path where you might not want to be part of something soccer related for quite some time until you can kind of wrap your head around the fact that it's not going to be the way it used to be. But not Goose. You noted, and we talked about it before, he joined our coaching staff, and I'm in those meetings. I'm part of that process. And he's been a very important member of the staff in the infancy of him being part of the crew, evaluating talent. And he provides a really keen insight that not any of us have in the current staff, and that's understanding what it takes to be a player at the NPSL level and to be a player for the club. I can tell you the kind of profile I want for a player at the club, but it's not the same coming from a guy who was a player for the club, if that makes sense. So yeah. I mean, I'm just super happy that when he and I talked about kind of what do you want to do with soccer moving forward, and he was in a hospital room, and I sent him some tape on some college players and said, hey, would you be willing to look at this and tell me what you think of these, these two guys and these three guys, what have you? He said, absolutely. So and the notes that came back were exactly what I would have provided if someone asked me that question. It's super detailed, great insight. Definitely not trying to pat myself on the back here, but trying to establish the fact that
backhanded way to talk about how sweet you are, John.
Yeah, super good at my job.
Incredibly detailed.
Yeah, but trying to
eye for
talent. Sitting in my ivory tower. Just trying to establish here the baseline of what I expected to come back. He outkicked that by 10 times. And not only was he doing that, then it was, okay, here's the deal. You're super valuable. Identifying some things that I think we need in the club. Would you be willing to be part of this moving forward? And his answer was immediately yes. Yeah. So it wasn't even like a hesitation. It was like you send the text and then you see the dotted lines and then it comes back yes right away. You're like, awesome. So it's just been so great to have him move forward in soccer and understand that he can still keep it in his life even though he can't play it. And I wouldn't say can't play it ever, but can't play it for now and maybe not ever, but you never know. So awesome to have him, and super happy for him to be voted by the fans to be part of the 2020 class of the Legends Club.
Yeah, man. Awesome kid. Awesome attitude. If I barely leave the couch, man. And if but still, if I had to like relearn to walk, I would just be like, why bother?
Yep. Attach a wheel.
Yep.
Just cut it off. Put a wheel up.
Yep. I'm cool. Just give me my PlayStation controller. So
right. Exactly.
Hats off to Goose for finding a way to stay positive and to stay involved. And, kudos to the club and to you, John, for recognizing his value.
No, it wasn't me. He did it himself. He did himself.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to me for identifying that I have a high expectation for player evaluation.
Next player we want to talk about in the Legends Club is Martin Brown Jr. We all know this guy from Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. 31 games for Minneapolis City, 10 goals, 8 assists, only 1 yellow, 2,230 minutes over his career. This guy joined the club for the qualifying round of the U.S. Open Cup when he when he joined Whitney Brown and played against Oakland County, right?
Yep, Oakland County.
Yeah, provided that assist to his brother for the goal that made us the first amateur club to qualify for U.S. Open Cup.
Yep, game winner.
Mm-hmm. And then when he showed up in 2017 full time, he took it by storm. That left foot scored free kick after free kick, bamboozling goalkeepers and walls over and over and over again. Every time, really, he stood over the ball.
7-man walls.
Yeah. And
which is unheard of.
Just curl it, right? Every time he stood over the ball, it's Marty Party. And the fans knew it. They were sensing something extraordinary could happen, and regularly it did. Beyond that, Martin Brown, technically gifted, super visionary passer, excellent on the ball, excellent dribbling, just lighting up games, making every time he touched the ball something. It was exciting because something cool could happen, right?
Yeah,
it's the kind of player you want. And he was really an important part of our 2018 team that went undefeated on the way to the NPSL North Conference title. He played a little deeper role, his ability to find space anywhere on the pitch, and he could always pick out that pass. That meant that he continued to impress, and he was with us, of course, this year, winning the second North Conference crown with the club in 2019. Martin Brown is the consummate. Is he the coach's player? Is he the ultimate coach's player, John?
I mean, yes. There's no other answer to that. I mean, he has that pro mindset. So where he knows what needs to happen. And for some coaches that's not the coach's player because they're outspoken. They're maybe a little bit contradictory to what a coach is saying, but Martin has that quiet nature about himself and just that kind of relaxed style where he's not going to sit in a locker room and argue with a coach. He's going to go out there on the field and do what the coach says, but then also if it's not working, take matters into his own hands because he's going to fight like hell to make it work. Mm-hmm. So, but to kind of start off my piece of this, I'm going to,
Once again, here we go.
Yeah, I'm going to get on the soapbox and say I'm taking full credit here because you can literally go back, and I did, a few years in the show, our archive, that I was the one who coined the phrase Marty Party.
Oh, okay.
What did you think I was going to say?
I don't know. I thought you were just going to be like, okay, so I know that I said that, I was the one that got Goose involved. And
No.
I know that he's got an eye just like me. I thought you were going to be like, so Martin Brown Jr. on the ball looks like John Bisworm, a young
hell no. Hell no. There is nothing further from the truth than my playing style of Martin Brown Jr.'s. But no, I coined the phrase Marty Party. If anyone else thinks they did, suck it. Go back. Listen. But anyways, so now here's where I make up for what I just said, Nate.
Strong words.
What I cannot take credit for is his immense set of skills. Martin, when he is around a soccer ball, is so dynamic, and it can be in a game. It can be fucking around with the ball on the sideline, during a water break or practicing free kicks. It's just this immense set of skills and natural comfort around a soccer ball. Mm-hmm. So he also had some injury setbacks in his younger years when I believe from what I wasn't here in Minnesota, but from what I've been told, he was injured when his stock was at its highest point, and that stunted his growth in the game. And around that kind of the last setback he had from an injury perspective is when we booted up our first Open Cup run, which is where we kind of crossed paths and led him to joining us. And really the rest is history. I mean, he's a model of consistency during his time with the club. We talked about it a little bit before, a quiet leader by example in the locker room, and one hell of a dead ball free kick taker that I think rivals anyone at our level and even higher levels. I mean, if you're putting 7 guys at a wall, I don't care if it's U15 soccer or, or in the Champions League, you know where the fuck to put a soccer ball if you can have the opponents put 7 guys in the wall trying to stop it. So his play became a joy to watch for our fans, and it was rewarded with an international call-up to Liberia, which is rare at this level, even though it didn't really work out because of some AFCON issues with the actual camp and matches that he was going to be brought in for. He's moved on to full-time coaching and will do fantastic things in the game of soccer from a coaching perspective as a leader going forward. I have no doubt. And I'm pleased that I was able to coach him, at some point, however brief it was. And it was really no brainer that he would be one of the first people selected into our first class, as the fans had the voting power.
I get to chat. Sorry, I was right in the middle of drinking. I get to chat with Martin every other week or so at the Mexican Futsal League that the boy plays in. Martin, he's gotten his hands full with that Maplebrook junior high kids squad. They're crushing it. They've got a goalkeeper that's about 7 feet tall.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But he's also got a pair of twins at home, so it's the perfect time for him to kind of move on and I shouldn't say grow up, but just kind of figure out, like, how can I do this soccer thing that I love and still be able to raise a family and be home and pay attention. And I think, if you follow Martin on Instagram, you'll see how hard he works at the game.
So hard.
Every day he's got a post about his kids that he's coaching and how great they're doing, and then he's got a video of some crazy ass foot skill drill he's putting himself through. So he definitely lives what he's trying to teach these kids. And if you've got Martin Brown Jr. as your coach at Maplebrook, you're a lucky guy.
One thing I forgot to mention is he actually is the associate head coach, first assistant. I don't know how they're splitting it up with the Maplebrook team that is in the UPSL that we'll be facing.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, so he's going to be part of the coaching staff there, and it's definitely not a turncoat situation by any means. It's more of that, like, that's his day job.
Yeah, is
to be part of Maplebrook, and he will be so he'll be on the opposite sidelines from the Crows for the first time since our inception. Yeah, crazy.
Next up, we've got my man Ben Wexler, Wexy. Sexy Wexy from Minnetonka, Minnesota. 37 games for the Crows, 3 goals, 2 assists. I wish I could say how many shots, but probably only about 4.
Take his minutes and cut it by a third.
1,973 minutes. This guy beloved by players, coaches, and fans alike. Wexler is very special. He was in the starting 11 for the club's first ever game away to the Milwaukee Bavarians. John, the 3 of us had a great time at the beer hall.
Oh yeah, we did.
He famously, he's the kind of guy, he's going to shave his goatee in a real weird way. Like, he wore this bizarre, strange goatee to loosen up the team, to get, some of these kids that are coming into the team that have probably never played at this level or even close to it, to kind of just laugh and forget about how stressed they are. And
he used my beard trimmer, and I threw it away after because
why?
Because both he and Andy Lohr used it. I don't know about that.
Was there a matching goatee down below?
No, I don't know. Because I had no idea what those two weirdos did with it.
Knew. There's probably they probably shaved each other's initials in their back hair. Anyway, it all worked. The Crows are in the 0-0 draw against the USASA National Cup finalists. And Wexy finished 2016 as a Team of the Year selection for the PLA. That's pretty amazing. His good form continues into 2017. He's explosive on the dribble, great positional sense. He's got this ability to bring others into the play. Wexler on the ball really demands that you pay attention to him, and he's a key player in our U.S. Open Cup qualifying runs. He played every minute in 2016, every minute in 2017. But off the ball, he's really important too, and probably where his biggest contribution to Minneapolis City lies. He's a leader in the clubhouse. He's the one that coined the phrase "the Brotherhood." Matt Elder and Ben Wexler combined really defined the club's cultural success, including that 2018 and 2019 NPSL North Conference titles, the unbeaten run. It all makes sense that the phrase originated with him, and he is a big reason why the Brotherhood existed. Wexler's city career ended with a dogged veteran performance on the road in the NPSL Midwest semifinal against Detroit City FC. I wouldn't have wanted to have it any other way than to see Ben Wexler one last time against probably in the biggest game that Minneapolis City has ever had.
Right. And I remember I was on the side, I was on the bench that day, and I remember when he came off, like I mean, those guys, you can watch the film on the game. Those guys went at us for a good portion of that game, and he comes off and he just got a smile on his face, and the first thing he says is, "Man, that was fucking awesome."
Yeah. The guy had the best attitude in the world. It's like it's all one big fish show for Wex.
It is.
Just
it
like,
really
oh,
is.
Man, they opened with Esther. Can you believe it? Like, yeah, but it's raining. Yeah, but the show is so good.
I think I actually have a "they open with Esther" text from him that I can pull up. So in 20, okay, so here's where I go back a little bit and I make it about me for a second. But then I promise to bring it back to Ben. So in 2013, I was playing on a Stegman's team in a 7v7 kind of bullshit fall league. And I was coming off my own injury at the time where I tore my quad during the summer season. I had just fully returned back into being able to play. So we turned up and had the displeasure of facing a 2013 Ben Wexler. So if you could only think about his form in 2016, think about it was when he was kind of coming off of college and playing every day in 2013. There was literally no way to stop him. And I mean, I tried. His speed had him just buzzing around the field. His quickness with and without the ball was so fast. You couldn't even foul him to try to stop him. And his ability in a 1v1 scenario was so impressive that I think he left like 6 of our 7 jocks, not including the goalkeeper at the time, on the field every time he got the ball. Like it was one of those soccer experiences where I was like, God, I wish that never happened to me. So somewhat of already a legendary status in Minnesota soccer around these parts. When he came into the fray in our first year, there was somewhat of a reluctancy on his side to join us in the first year because of his ability to commit due to starting his off the field career with his family business. And it's saying that is almost laughable as, once he joined up, he was a model of commitment and became a cornerstone of the club and a fan favorite. So, when he was playing with us, he impressed fans and opponents, which is evident in making the all PLA team. A side note was the coach Patrick Hodgins, who we've had on the show at the Bavarians, had asked if he could maybe guest play with them in some tournaments. And that's just a testament to just how remarkable Ben is on a soccer field. When he's playing, when he's not playing, you noted he's supporting his teammates. The whole brotherhood thing without him is it wouldn't be a thing. And it's going to be something that is always talked about in the club until maybe a little Wexler joins. So
a little Wexler, not saying that he's having a kid anytime soon. You just mean like the young Wexler version.
Yeah.
Some new kid.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's no other way than to just say the name Ben Wexler without a smile on your face. And that's the kind of person we want as a club legend.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to pick one guy from Minneapolis City besides you, that I would just go out and have some drinks with, I think it'd be Ben Wexler. Like, he's so awesome to talk to. It's fun to hang out with. And half of it is just because like, he doesn't give any fucks. Like, sometimes he'll just say something, we'll be like, what are you talking about? And he'll be like, yeah, it's a fish, the one that I'm ice fishing for. You never heard of it before? And it's like, you think he's just making shit up, and he's totally on point with his ice fishing game. He's got a story for everything. But really, like, on the field, Goose was the same way. That, like, when you've got a dangerous player at this level when they get hacked.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Every time.
It's the PLA, the NPSL, not the kind of league where someone is going to, or a team will, I guess, professionally over and over deal with getting smoked. And so that's how Goose racks up all his fouls. That's how Wexler got dropped in Duluth. Like, anytime that a team doesn't know how to deal with someone is when you see a serious injury. So I think Wexler is a story of clear talent that really it's too bad that, when he got dropped for injury last year or the year before, that he couldn't keep playing the games. Another guy that like you wonder, another guy that like coach's preference, you don't play him, but it's clear that he needs to be on the field, kind of a thing.
Quick Wexler story. So last season, I turned up to our one of the training sessions where we have our weekly management meeting, and I obviously stuck around to chat with the guys and watch. And I the team's kind of huddling, and I kind of lean over and say hi to Wexler, and I look down, and his hands are just like so dirty, like it's like he played with mud all day. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And he goes, yeah, I took off work early and I went mushroom hunting until sundown, and then I came to play soccer.
Of course you did.
Right, exactly. And that sums up Ben Wexler.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. The next guy, Tim Wills. Tim's from Portland, Oregon, but he moved to Minnesota for college, graduated from Carleton with his twin sister.
Yep, twin sister.
Yep. I remember we talked to Tim in the early days when we were in the conference room of our advertising agency. At the time, the school's we drank a lot of bourbon that night.
Yeah, we did. A lot.
Tim at the time was Carleton's all-time leading goal scorer and points leader, and he decided to stick around Minnesota. He was only beat by another Crow, Brendan McGarity, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So what sets Timmy apart was his awareness of and his ability to get into pockets of space. Like, John, you talk about this all the time. Tim Wills does Tim Wills things. He seems to be playing a different game. He pops up here and there. He moves the ball. He brings people into play, and sometimes he'll score goals, but usually more of a field goal. Used sparingly in 2016 and 2017. He shows up in the U.S. Open Cup qualifying round in the fall of 2017, and he really put himself in the pole position for the 2018 NPSL season. He scored 6 goals in 14 games, but more than that, he was the linchpin for the whole attack as City led the entire country in scoring in 2018 on the way to that undefeated season and the conference title. He was similarly important in 2019. He chipped in with a goal every third game, and he helped to amplify the attack as City retained the conference title. Career stats for Tim Wills: 34 games, 10 goals, 5 assists, 1,902 minutes. I'll tell you what, John. Those 10 goals are sneaky 10 goals.
Totally.
Like, you don't think of Tim Wills for scoring goals, but he does it. Didn't he score the tying goal in Med City to save the undefeated season?
He did. 91st minute goal.
Right? Just clutch. And like you like to say, he does Tim Wills things. He drops into space. He either takes the chances himself, or he'll more than likely, because he's the one that grabs the attention when he finds the ball in a dangerous place. He has this uncanny ability to play the ball off to someone who has been totally forgotten by the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he knows exactly what he's doing when he draws attention to himself in the attacking third, and that is to kind of play a little Bushido, a little ninja game. And then he'll hand the ball out. He'll pass the ball to someone who can go in for the killing blow.
So what I'm about to say is no slight on Tim. It's just totally the truth. So, when you turn up to the YMCA to play like pickup basketball, and there's 9 other guys kind of getting ready, and they all look the part.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking to yourself, it's going to be like a totally shitty day for you. And then there's that one goal, and you're like, one guy, and you're like, this guy looks like the one that I'm going to guard because he does not look like the part.
Yeah, then the ball. This is this guy's more my skill level.
Yeah, this guy's more me. And then the ball's tipped, and then you're like, oh no. This is the guy that is the best player out here, and he just looks like he isn't the best player out there. And that's Tim. And like I said, no slight on him.
Nope.
If he turns up at a soccer game, you think the exact same way. And I truly believe that he thrives off of it. You mentioned coming to Minnesota as a freshman at Carleton. His mental fortitude, his smarts is what brought him here and took him across the country. But it's what he did on the field that really sets him apart. I mean, he lit up the MIAC from the jump and didn't stop until actually school took him away from us as he retired from competitive soccer. And then he is attending grad school out west. So,
is that the plan?
Yeah, that's what he's doing right now. As for his career with City, it was a bit all over the place because he didn't feature much to start. Got some spot time here and there until the past 2 seasons when he was, on the field and present for a ton of really crucial moments. That game winner you mentioned in Med City was one of them. And I really think he was a very crucial part of our back-to-back title-winning seasons. I believe his true coming out party was that 2016 U.S. Open Cup game where he logged 110 minutes of wreaking havoc between both central defenders for Oakland, and only to do what he did best. The little things, the dirty things, the hardworking things, to bait a center back to track him into a pocket of space where he beat the guy and flicked the ball onto Whitney Brown to score the game's first goal. Yep. And from that point, he could be counted on to be the rock up front, whether it was in that central striker role, scoring some goals at the sneaky 10 that you mentioned, or he was setting up his teammates, as you mentioned. And I really feel that he will be one of the players on this list that is going to be very hard to replace, because the things he did are things that you can't teach or you can't train for. It's just, he just knew where to be, when to be there, what to do with it. Super clean on the ball and just really hard to replace.
So John, keen-eyed fans would have read between the lines when that Legends Club was announced, right? But this is, like you said, a very interesting way, and I think a really nice way to soften the blow on maybe some news that these players are not going to be returning to the club for 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
It was one of those things like, oh, that's it for Tim and Wexy. Like, I knew that Martin was done because I've been kind of chatting with him, like you said. Like, I got the feeling that, like, that's about it. But, like, Wexy's not coming back. Tim's not coming back. That sucks. Obviously, Goose isn't coming back. I'm curious. Hopefully in the future the team will be a little more timely, or not timely, I should say, like a little sensitive to how they announce this, right? Like, you kind of want to know first that players aren't coming back before you're like, yeah, they're legends.
Well, right, yeah, we didn't we didn't just throw this out into the ether. We had some ideas around these guys not being able to come back.
Sure.
Beforehand.
Yeah. What are the official royal duties of players who get inducted into the Minneapolis City Legends Club, John?
Is it
basically come and hang out with us in the booth?
I mean,
bring your mushrooms.
Yeah. Don't know how to take that one, but no, I mean, we're still trying to iron out what the official capacity is for being part of the Legends Club beyond the title of being part of it. We've tossed around the idea of there being a formalized thing at a halftime of a home game, a Legends Club dinner that we would have with the 3 founders and the coaching staff, with the players for the inducting class, but also coming back into the fray whenever we have that dinner in the future. So in the class of 2030 would definitely be able to break bread, I guess you could say, Nate, with the legends from the first class. So
yeah, I'd say that.
Still trying to figure that out. But the first step was finding out who the fans wanted to induct into our first Legends Club.
Nice. Well, it's hard to believe, John, it's only January, and we're going to talk about how our trials are almost over. But this week brings the end of the invite trials, and really it's at the end of the month really ushers in the final open trial of the season. So coming up here at the end of January, tell us a bit about how things have been going. We've been having, I feel like every time we get together, we talk trial, but we only really get together like once every other week now because of the holidays. Yeah. So how have things been going on the trial front?
Well, Nate, fantastic question. It's been an awesome winter camp for the guys we brought in after hours of scouting that we went through to identify them. So the level's been extremely high. I think maybe higher than it's been in the past. There's just a glut of quality players that we can pick from, and there are some really tough decisions to be made in the next coming weeks as we look to finalize our roster, because we have a little something called an Open Cup game in March. So we really got to start training for that. But we've tipped our cap a little bit with announcing some of the legends on some of the players that we need to replace. But there's honestly 3 to 4 players at each of the positions of need that we have that range from Division I players down to Division III players. Some guys that have come to us with previous MPSL or UPSL experience already. And as of right now, you could really take the top 15 of the guys we've had out of some 50 plus guys that we've had out, and you could really put them in either of the divisions, MPSL or UPSL, that we have teams competing in this summer, and they could really compete for a conference title with just those trialists. So there'll be some guys that are obviously disappointed that they're not going to be selected, and it's not because they're not good enough. It's just really because we don't have anywhere for these guys to play. But if those players understand the setting and the reasoning why that they're not selected, and we keep them on our radar, we're definitely set up for a bright future with this club, with the younger players that we're seeing come in.
It's cool to hear. Like, we've got so much talent locally that could fill a team or two of players. Like we said, is it kind of hashing out that, even like when we were talking to Ryan, like, even though it's not officially the U23 team anymore, like, are you finding that a number of younger guys are coming out to trials than you would expect, and so it's kind of going to be easier to fill as a quote U23 team, or is it kind of like, are we finding veterans kind of crawling out of the woodwork that we were surprised about? I guess you wouldn't be surprised because they were all invite, but still, you know what I mean?
Well, I think both, Nate. I mean, I think it's a healthy mix of some guys with some veteran experience, but also we're never not going to have younger players to look at. It's really just finding the right ones that fit our club profile and can fit the need of the coaching staff. So, like, my whole responsibility is to bring these guys in to allow the coaches to select from them. And unfortunately, we just don't have a spot for all of them. And I really wish we could, but, we've talked about the Aiden O'Driscolls of the world that we've had in for trials that didn't make the team right away. It's just really getting across those guys that, whether it be sticking under the umbrella with a Stegman's type option for a summer, or it be going somewhere else to play and coming back to play with us, that we love to have them, but it's a no for now kind of scenario.
Speaking of club style, is there a Minneapolis City style of play at this point? I know, like, you came up watching Manchester United. I started watching Arsenal when Wenger was kind of on his last legs and finally worked out. But you could tell watching Arsenal in 2014 what Arsenal soccer was supposed to be. You could tell back in the day what Manchester United soccer is supposed to be when Ferguson was there. Like, is there a Minneapolis City style of soccer that we are now looking to play and find players to fit that style?
I think it's more. I think yes. It definitely goes down to the coach. Obviously, I think Matt plays a different style than Adam did. Very similar style, but in some aspects very different. But I think it really leans on a player profile of the type of individual we want to have in the club. Okay. And then the style of play will shake itself out with having like-minded individuals together.
Nice.
And guys that have the commitment level to be part of this, versus saying our target strikers need to look like this and our center backs need to look like this. It's not really like that.
Yeah, it's not about fitting the job. It's about if you're the right kind of guy, we'll find a job for you.
Right, exactly. So I guess the answer to your question is no, I don't think there is a defined style or system of play that we have. I mean, in some aspects, yes, but in other aspects, no.
It's very non-bizworm of you. That's interesting. Well, John, you mentioned that there is going to be some open trial here coming up at the end of the month. What do you got for us?
Well, it's going to be our typical open trial. I guess you can call it our street free agent type trial. We have 2 every year. And, we've taken players from all of them. So we're looking to fill that trial up. So if you go to mplscitysc.com, you can sign up for the trial today.
All right. Street players. If you're a freak in the streets, sign up. That's the end of the show tonight. It's been we've had a long show tonight because we haven't talked in a while.
I know.
Thanks, as always, to the show's sponsor, Summit Brewing Company. It's going to be snowing all weekend. It's the best time to lock yourself into your house and drink a case of Summit Winter Ale. Get some at your local liquor store or snowshoe to your watering hole today. Summit, it's a more meaningful brew since 1986. If you're into giving back to the community, it is time to give to the club that gives back. Minneapolis City is, I will remind you, a 501c3 that provides a safe, reliable, and fun environment for young people to play the beautiful game. Look for us this off-season hosting play events in partnership with community centers around the city. And please consider a tax-deductible donation to a true city-focused organization. Hey, it's never a bad time to become a Minneapolis City member. You got to do it for less than the price of 2 full gas tanks, $65. Is that really? The gas might have gone down. $65 allows you to support the club and get some cool stuff in return. You get, of course, your membership scarf. You get a membership card that's going to get you all sorts of deals, 10% off at the club shop, deals on Summit at our official game day bar, Palmer's. Plus, you're going to get that vote on important club matters. They're all such as membership board matters, choosing scarf, choosing kit designs. It's all been good. Oh my God, I'm so excited to see these kits on the field. Visit mplscitysc.com and make it happen. Get in on the action. Hey, if you have anything you want us to cover in the off season, make sure you get at us. If you have any hard-hitting exposés that you've been hoping we undertake, let us know. Send us mail. It's so easy. Hit us up on Twitter at The People's Pitch or through email at mcscpodcast@gmail.com. Excuse me. All questions, comments, and concerns are welcome. And finally, as always, hit that club up at MPLSCSC on Twitter, the hottest Twitter game in amateur soccer. And that's all for this week. I have been Nate. That has been John. Hey, until next time.
You got hoofed.
That was a loud one.
I thought I would go beyond the whisper today.
Poster burning maple weeds, cradle major keys. Thinking back, I've been major since the minor league. So supreme, too much sauce off my olive NMDs. I could staple steez, bend the goat so I get the cheese, never fall. Rake them leaves and make sure every moment gets seized and everything.